and welcome.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you. My name is Tricia Sifford, and my colleague is Keri Anderson, and we are Team Branagh Group. We're so honored to be a sponsor at the Smart Start Conference and have the opportunity to network with so many amazing, brilliant people. Angela Lewis, I see you down there. You are one of them. Really appreciate all the work that you all do every day for the youngest citizens. I'm assuming everyone's from North Carolina. I'll make that assumption here in North Carolina. So yeah, we're excited to meet with you all today. And Keri, I don't know if you'd like to say a little hubbub about what you do and your role with Branagh Group, and then we'll just jump right in.
So, as she said, I'm Keri Anderson, but I am not in North Carolina. I'm outside Chicago, Illinois. So I did travel to your conference, and it was really great. Yes, like she said, I'm her partner working with learners, though Tricia does do another part also. She works with the data system. But yeah, so I do a lot having to do with learners. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that is if you've never heard about it. And so we don't have a lot of time, so we can get started if you guys are okay. I will start the PowerPoint, Tricia.
Yeah, that's good. And if you guys wouldn't mind, if you have access to the chat, which I believe you all do, if you could I have your names, but if you could just kind of tell me where you're from. I don't want to do introductions because 30 minutes is going to go by just like that. But if you feel like sharing where you are and what your role is, that would be awesome. And then that way we'll have it in the chat. But we'll go ahead and get started if that's okay, just because, like I said, we do only have 30 minutes. So we attended so many fantastic sessions at Smart Start and really learned so many awesome things about the work that's going on here in North Carolina. But our post session is a little bit about the work we do, which is everything that we do in Branagh Group is revolved around the environment rating scales, which you all are very familiar with. So we have two main products where we have the data system where people that go out and do electronic assessments, they conduct the environment rating scales assessments electronically. And the main benefit of doing that is the data that you get out of it. So running a lot of reports. Are there certain zip codes that are struggling? Are there different areas where technical assistance seems to be a little bit less than other areas where scores are reflecting that? So that's our main product that we started with. And then, as we all know, COVID kind of shook up our world a little bit, didn't it, in the way of childcare? Everything seemed to kind of be functioning a little bit differently since COVID. And that is also true for our company. So because at that point, most of our providers were actually in the field going out and conducting assessments, and their breaks were hit, we started getting all these phone calls. Now what? What do? We still want to support providers, but we're not able to be actually on the property. What should we do? And the timing actually worked out well because we were already in the middle of developing this product. And then with the complications of COVID and all the barriers it brought to the field, it just worked out nicely that what the work we were doing met what we were dealing with at COVID at the same time. So this is when we develop learners, and Keri is going to do a great job. She's the product manager for learners, and she's going to do a great job of telling you as quickly as we can. It's hard to wrap this up in 30 minutes of what learners is, what are the benefits of using learners, how it's used with various customers that are currently using it, what is the main purpose of learners. So we developed learners about a year before COVID is when the design started to come into play. And it became obvious what the field was looking for. We have, almost every state used the environment rating scales, and there was a need for helping providers understand the why behind the quality indicators. Not so much this is a checklist of what needs to happen in your classroom, but rather this is a checklist of what is best practices, what are best practices for children. So we started with the ECHRs, and we created our first set of modules for the ECHRs instrument. And when I say modules, a module translates to an item. So you're all familiar with the scale. So let's just say we're looking at dramatic play in the Eckers. There's an actual module for dramatic play. So when we use the word module, it's kind of used interchangeably with the understanding that's an item in the scale. So we started with the Eckers. That was the first one we released. And then we moved to the infant toddler scale. Then we moved to family childcare, and this is when the magic happened. So as we know, when COVID happened, family childcare homes exploded, right? They were the ones that were kind of not mandated, you got to shut down. So they were really pulling the weight for the nation in the way of emergency childcare for those essential workers. So we started getting bombarded with either network phone calls or actual individual family childcare providers saying, we need help, we need help, we need a better way to understand this instrument. For years, we have been putting a little bit of what's in the ITERs, what's in the Eckers, and putting together training. And now you have training that's definitely designed just for us with the barriers that we all deal with. What we kept hearing from them is we work in isolation, right? You know, as a family child care provider, it's my business, my home, my children. And so they do get very isolated, and they want that networking opportunity to work with other providers, but they weren't sure how to make that happen. So part of learners, which is what Keri will go through here in just a second, there is an opportunity for peer learning. And we've seen that the peer learning is exploding with the family childcare population, mainly because we think of the isolation, but also because these networks have formed across the nation. All Our Kin, which is was at Smart Start that did an awesome presentation on their network for family childcare. So we have a customer, we have several customers that do work with networks in family childcare that are using learners, and it has been a fantastic experience watching them learn and grow together and build this almost like a partnership of sisterhood. You know, they get together once a month, they go out and go bowling, and they do all these things, but they're also learning about the Vickers instrument in these meetings that they're having, talking about best practices and things like that. So the release of learners specific for the family childcare instrument has just been released. We have a couple more modules that need to get done, but the bulk of it is done. And rather than going too much into it, I'm going to let Keri take it from here and talk about learners. But at the end of the presentation, there's some contact information. It would be worth your while if you have a minute, just want to watch something very easy that doesn't involve a lot of thinking, grab a cup of coffee. There are some videos on our website which really specifically talk about how this product helps family childcare providers. How does it help coaches? How does it help directors? So go and spend a minute watching those videos. I think it'll give you a little bit of an idea of exactly how the product is tailored toward the certain populations that we serve. But I'm going to give it to the professional. Keri is, like I said, our product manager for learners. She lives, eats, breathes learners, loves it, very passionate about it, as am I. And she's going to do a quick being the main word here of learners, what it is, what it looks like, and what do people experience when they're going through learners. So I will pass it to my colleague, Keri, and you can take it away from here.
I just have a question. I see that there's chat. I haven't opened it. Does anybody have a question, or is that chat something else going on? I wasn't sure.
I think it's just people doing what I requested.
Oh, you requested something. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it while you're talking. Okay.
Okay. But if anybody has any questions or anything, go ahead and unmute and feel free. So as you can see here, this is talking about what is learners. As Tricia mentioned, we do have it for for each scale, but really for this one, we were focusing on family childcare mainly for the reasons that Tricia just explained. A lot of outreach for that because we have heard that, and I think I even heard at your conference, when you think about family childcare, it's like first thing that comes up is like they work in a silo, they work in isolation. So we just wanted you to we wanted to show you an option that there is for family childcare. We actually have a network right now that's doing an awesome job with it. And so we thought, you know what, this is something great to talk about, to let others know about something that's out there for family childcare. Really, Learners is a structure that guides educators through a continuous quality improvement process using the environment rating scales. It includes, as Tricia said, it includes online modules. There's a CQI journal, and that is individualized. So it's a live document that is being created throughout the process of you going through each module, like Tricia said, each item. And then there's the peer learning sessions, which again, Tricia has mentioned. Yeah, so it does focus on the pre-K, infant, toddler, family childcare. Not right now, we do not have the Sakers, but I will say that we do have all the other ones. Yeah, so it's also structured for the providers to own their own change, which is really an important piece, because a lot of times they do feel like we come in their home, and if we're an assessor, I've been an assessor and a coach, they come in their home and kind of tell them what to do, what they're doing wrong. But this is the opposite. This is something that's actually, we're coming in and we're letting them lead that change, and that really makes a difference in them really diving deep and really getting to understand the tool and what is needed for them to provide a quality program for their kiddos. So as you can see here, I'm not going to read this. You can go ahead and read how Learners empowers the providers. But this piece, what I really am going to point out here is Tricia kind of did talk about it, but I wanted to highlight that Learners does provide the why behind the requirements. And like I said, I was a coach. So a lot of times when I would go into a program, a lot of them would just be like, okay, just tell me what I need to do. It was totally a checklist. It wasn't like, what do I need, I really want to learn what I need to do to change. Let me go look and see what areas I'm lacking in. It was just kind of like, just tell me what I need to do. I'll do it so I can get that score 5 to 7. Of course, everybody wants a 7, which is pretty unattainable most times, but you can strive for that. But within Learners, there is video snippets that's within each item, and it gives a great detail explanation that covers the different areas of development, and it gives you the wide, like I said, the wide requirements depending on which item that you are looking at. So art would be, you would get an understanding of how children are learning with art. And the great thing about the why that I always tell people is it's not only for the teacher. I mean, well, yes, it's for the teacher, but the teacher can use that information to even speak to the parents. Like when a parent comes in and says, why is my child always in dramatic play? They're not learning anything in dramatic play. Well, the teacher, this information that's been given, that's a very detailed content, has been given so that providers, family childcare providers, I would say, greatly appreciate this and have learned a lot from this, to be able to have the verbiage to be able to explain to the parent. They've used it in newsletters. They've used it to get grants. So it's just a wonderful way. And that's one resource that we do. I call it a resource because even though it's embedded in the module, you also have an area at the end where you get that's a journal that has all of those all of that information on one sheet that can be placed in the home for them to use for resources.
And Keri, you have to share one of our favorite quotes from one of our providers who said when she was a family childcare provider and she went through some of the Learners modules, and we always ask for feedback because I think that's what makes your products better, is to get feedback from people that use it and say, hey, what could we have done differently? And she was a family childcare provider for over 20 years. And she said, you know what, after going through these modules, it's the first time in my professional career that I actually feel like a professional, because I'm armed with the resources that I need to support the professionalism that I need to have in my job. And that resonated with me so much because that's what we want, right? We're not babysitters. We are professional, and we do a really important job. And I think once they learn that why behind the quality indicators, it's amazing. So yes, this is, it just made me think about that.
I do have 2 other quotes that I'll say later, but that one's a good one. I didn't have that one. So thank you.
My favorite.
But yes, we do hear that a lot. And actually, just like I said, just being in that job, like I feel it, like it excites me really. I mean, there's a couple of things about learners that I love, but the why and the peer learning are probably the two pieces that I feel are we hear the most really good feedback about. So so yeah, I always get excited to be able to share that. We also we want to make sure that providers know that they matter, that there's the community, and the community piece is so we want to make sure that first we want to make sure that the providers understand that they play a critical role in the success of learners. It's meant to be more than just an online module for the provider to do, and like I said, it's more than that checkoff list. Um, it's an actual, I would say it's an actual set plan. It's a system for how they are going to engage with the professional development. Again, it is a CQI framework, and that's kind of how we talked about in the beginning, but we have, as we grow and learners is growing too and expanding, we are now seeing that really it is a professional development tool. And actually, we tell people a lot of times, even if you're not using the scales, I just want you guys to know that the content is like, what do you say? Like basic educational, early childhood information. Like it's very foundational. Thank you. It's very foundational. So we have people that use it, and for instance, they use the class. Well, that's fine. They still wanted to try it. They used it, and guess what? Their score still went up. So it's just amazing to hear that this professional development tool has really helped not only centers, but it has really, really helped homes. And that's why I kind of wanted to use this opportunity to highlight the homes. Though we are mentioning teachers and centers, I want you to know that's one of the reasons why we were highlighting the homes, because it really has made a difference for them. And not only quality in their home, but them really, really understanding the tool. And I have found when I was out in the homes that they didn't really grasp it, and they were scared of it, because they felt like it was telling them that their home is not good enough, because it is their home. I mean, it's their business. So this is a way to help them, like I said, steer their professional development and their learning, and them being able to see on their own what they can do better. It's also in this, I say the community provider is they're able to team up with other FCC programs that they can check in with, connect with, share ideas and challenges, basically learn from each other. That's another thing. So with the framework not the framework, with the Family Childcare Network that's working together, that's what they're doing. They're doing their own module, but then they're coming together and they're learning from each other. They're telling stories, things that they may not even have thought about doing in their home, how they can improve that, even sharing some difficulties and some challenges that they're having that others that have maybe done it longer or have figured something out that they haven't, they're able to share that. And it's really, really awesome to hear the stories and see the excitement. So I've heard from many providers, as we said, and actually teachers too, that the peer learning is what makes this professional development framework so successful. I'm going to read this to you. One teacher noted, peer learning allowed us to bounce new ideas off each other and better collaborate with one another. I saw what has been working in other classrooms that may work for mine. And then we have our FCC owner who said, thanks to this program, we were able to help the family childcare providers to improve their services. And that's what we like to hear. Those are the stories that we want to hear, because if we can give them something to aid in their learning and their understanding and their grasping the why and behind the requirements, it's a great thing, and it benefits the family and the children.
Can I interrupt one more time?
Yes.
Okay. So I saw somebody was from Ohio in the list here, and Keri and I recently went to Ohio and met with a group of family childcare providers. And when Keri was talking about, the fearing of the Fickers, if you will, the providers were very, very nervous about the Fickers. They didn't know much about it. They were nervous about passing and failing and things like that. But it was magical. Correct me if I'm wrong, Keri. It was magical to take those providers through the block item in the Fickers and see their eyes light up. I took them literally from inadequate to excellent. We went through every indicator. We talked about, what does that look like? What does that sound like? How could you incorporate that? And I kid you not, by the end of that little session of just, let's just dissect blocks for the heck of it and see what we learn, you should have felt the energy in the room. And it wasn't because they were, it's like walking into an anatomy class in college the first day and they say, okay, we're going to start with an exam, right? I mean, you only know what you know. You came in with the knowledge that you had. And so just by doing that one exercise and taking one item and dissecting it and helping them understand, why is this important? And did you know that children are learning geometry when they're playing with blocks?
Yeah.
It just felt like they were just armed with all these wonderful resources. So there is so much value in that peer learning of bringing people together and exploring it together and just taking that fear out of the puzzle. So I had to share that just because I
No,
saw.
you're right, Tricia. I was amazed at that training. I mean, that was our first time actually doing it in person. We usually don't do it for providers. We usually do it for coaches, but just having that opportunity that Ohio gave us really gave me an inside look into how important it is to explain to them and to see them really get it. I mean, it was really, really great. So we do that if you need that, but it's very rare that we do that. But it was great to actually be in person to be able to see it firsthand. That the content that's in here in these modules really make a difference. It's not just because we are Branagh Group created it. It's really a passion of ours, myself and Tricia's, for working in helping people understand the scale. And I just want to give an example of what the community part of this presentation, which is really a focus, is our peer learning sessions. And we actually have some resources for whoever, for those that are using it. It doesn't have to be used this way, but we do provide it. It just helps. I mean, some people have a way that they do it, but this just was something that we provided. It actually gives you step by step. It gives you the purpose of it, the time. So we always say to do at least 60 minutes. We tell you what materials are needed, directions on how to run a peer learning. So if you see here in these words here, it basically is a time for shared learning and deepening knowledge, right? A collaborative process, which is really important, especially for family childcare. And when we say that, we know family childcare is just usually the owner and maybe sometimes they have a helper. So a lot of times people say, well, how do you do peer learning? It's great. That's why we talk about networks. But even if you don't have network, if you know other family childcare, which in my experience, most family childcare know someone else doing family childcare, or if there's a coach involved, they can help bring together a group. But it's really great to find other homes that people can build a community and really get to know each other and support each other. And this is a great way of doing it. And it's a method of communication between, and this is the classroom staff director coach. So here it would be, a lot of times we put the provider and the director position within learners, but I guarantee you there is a module for family childcare that does say provider, but a lot of the materials do kind of focus more in center. But this was an example that we had for running a peer learning. And actually we have 2 sessions that we like to talk about doing so they can come together after they have actually implemented what they talked about in that first peer learning session, so that they can see. And I've heard that they get so excited. They want to show pictures. They want you to come to their home and look at it. And they love what they learned, and they love seeing the change that they've made change the way that the children interact and are learning also. So it's really, really fun to hear the stories. And I will add one more thing. Oh no, let me go to the next one, so then you can see. So I added this here too, because part of the peer learning is the journal, is the creating goals. So they would create those goals and they would that's what they're discussing, right? Well, one of the resources, because I know I mentioned resources in our description, this is just one example, but we have a module CQI report. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but this also, our data system also has these reports, but Learners does have a CQI report. And these are the things that you find within the report. Very, very helpful. There's always the summary. There's a completion status. So for anybody, like for the for anybody that needs to see, if you have multiple people using it, you can see who's completed it. I love that it has the piece about what materials are accessible and what the staff needs. Very, very great for if they need to get, just go out and purchase things, or if they're asking for grants. This is a great way to see that. The key point is one of the indicators in the scale. So it gives an overview of the key point, and then their goals. So each of the providers' goals are listed in here. There's multiple ways to use this report, and there's so many other resources and reports. We have a whole bunch of resources within the file cabinet in Learners that are provided to the home providers. This is an example, and then also the other example was the peer learning. So those are two examples of some of the resources that and that's only two examples of some of the resources that we have for them. So it's a very successful. I love the feedback that we get, and how it's really been a game changer for the homes that have chosen to use the modules.
And the this CQI report for learners actually kind of morphed from, like Keri said, the CQI report from the data system. So I mentioned earlier, we have a software that you can conduct the assessments electronically. But one of the values of that is really getting the reports out of that. And we, for many, many years, did a standard report that almost looked like a report card, right? Here's what I saw. Here's what you did really well. Here are the things you may want to work on. And providers kind of felt a little icky about that report. They felt like it shared more bad news than good news. And it felt like, they were really excited about their work. And then after their assessment, they were kind of deflated, like, oh, wow, here I thought I was doing a really good job, but maybe I'm not really doing a good job. So we thought, well, that's not our intent at all, right? I mean, that is not our intention. The intention of the instrument is to highlight what you're doing well, make some suggestions on how you can do better, implement them, see if they work, and what are the outcomes, right? That's the goal. So we created a CQI report that folks could use, which tells them exactly everything I said. Here's what I saw. This is what was observed. But then there's a next component that talks about, have you thought about this? Could you implement this? Take a look at your dramatic play area tomorrow and see what kind of language and communication is happening towards them. So now it becomes more of a learning tool. Right. So they're still getting those results from their assessment, but they're also getting now what? Rather than just getting the report card, you're getting the report card with the next steps. Okay, right. So out of all these 32 areas, here are 5 that you could potentially work on. What do you think? Do you want to? We know, right? If they don't drive the change isn't going to happen. If a coach comes in and says, do this because it's what you should be doing, it's not enough. They need to know why. Why is it important to have dramatic play over there? Why is it important to have a sink near the art materials? It all makes sense once you start making, linking everything together. So I just wanted to mention where that CQI report came from. There were a couple questions in the chat. I just want to point them out if no one read them. There was a great question from Glendale about, does this replace the BAS? And my response to that was that the BAS is more about the professional and business side of family childcare rather than what the children are actually physically experiencing. So no, it does not replace, it's an addition to. So the BAS, like I said, is an awesome instrument to reflect on your professional and businesses practices in family childcare. Whereas this is more looking at the programmatic, what's happening with the children and the environment that the children are in. And then
that is a great tool too.
It is a fantastic tool. And then the other question was, what was CQI? It's so funny how we throw out letters.
Yeah, no, sorry. You're right.
We did. I mean, I can't tell you how many sessions in Smart Start I was like Googling what does that mean? API.
All of our acronyms. EC has so many acronyms. Okay, go ahead, Tricia.
So thank you for reminding us to spell that out. So anyway, I know that our time is over. I hope that you all learned a little bit about learners and how it can benefit family childcares, especially if you have a network, an established network. If you want more information, like I said, Keri is your go-to. She is all about learners and will help you understand. I would honestly say if we piqued your interest a little bit, the next step would be to actually see a demonstration of Learner so that you could actually see what the module looks like when you're in it and what the provider experiences when they're in it. And we are happy to do that at your convenience. So you have her information there. Take a little picture of it so you have it. And reach out to us if we can help you in any other way. And again, thank you so much for everything that you all do every day for the children in your community. And we look forward to supporting Smart Start again next year at their conference,
Yes.
and hope to see you all there again.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you
Yvonne
all.
has put in a survey there for you all to fill out. And other than that, we will release you to your busy day. Thank you for spending a little time with us today, and feel free to check out our website and learn more. And we look forward to continuing conversations with all of you.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Tricia and Keri. This was
You're
a
welcome.
wonderful session. Thank you for being here with us. And thank you everyone for attending. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.
Take
I'll be
care.
in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.